So in the very first chapter of the Gospel of Mark, we have these two men walking around northern Israel speaking out the same message, the same call. They call people to turn their life around because God's kingdom is coming, or God's reign and his rule is going to become more real. You might have heard it said differently when they said, repent, for the kingdom of God has come near. The first guy was a guy called John, and he was known as John the Baptist because he would take the people that said, yes, I want my life to turn around. He would take them down into the river and he would baptize them. He would take them under the water as a sign that they were dying to their old ways, to their old selves, and then he'd bring them back out of that water as a sign of entering into a new life. At some point, this guy, John the Baptist, gets imprisoned, and then his cousin takes over. You might have heard of him. His name's Jesus of Nazareth. And Jesus goes around with that same call. He's saying, turn your life around because God's kingdom, God's reign, God's rule is coming. At some point, he walks along past some fishermen and he calls them. He says, come and follow me. Come and follow me. You see, in those days, Jesus is what was known as a rabbi, which we might know as a teacher. But a rabbi was a different kind of teacher. They didn't teach kind of information and facts like we might understand a teacher today. Their job as a rabbi was to train young men who were called disciples in what it meant to be like them. See, Jesus as a rabbi called these young men to come and follow him, to come and learn his ways, to come and learn his routines, to come and learn his theology, to come and learn what it means to be like him. And the end goal wasn't that these guys would be filled with information. The end goal was that these guys might become like him. There was an ancient a blessing that was said. It said, may you be covered in the dust of your rabbi. Basically, it said, you know what, as you walk closely behind your rabbi, as you learn to be like him, you'll be covered, you'll be caked in the dust that he kicks up. The Gospel of Mark records that these four young men, a guy called Simon, Andrew, James, and another guy called John, all immediately left their nets. They walked away from their boats and they started to follow Jesus. They started the adventure and the journey of learning what it means to be like him. You see, Jesus didn't come to call spectators. He didn't come to call fans. He didn't come to call people that would just mildly associate themselves with him in his name. He came to call disciples. And he's continuing to come and call disciples right here, right now. Jesus is calling us to be disciples. Being a Christian is being a disciple. We can't just kind of say, yeah, we'll like him on Facebook or we'll follow him on Instagram or we'll just kind of say, yeah, sometimes when it suits us, we'll call ourselves Christians. No, Jesus says, if you're going to be a follower of mine, it's an all or nothing kind of thing. He calls us to turn away from the old ways, the old habits, the old thought processes, the old kind of directions that we've kind of headed our life in. To head away from kind of seeking after power and fame and popularity and safety and comfort and to start to center our lives on him. We can't kind of have a foot in both camps. See, God is transforming our lives day by day. He loves us. He has saved us. He has rescued us. And he loves us as we are, but he loves us enough to not leave us where we are, because he knows that those old ways, those old thinking patterns aren't good for us. They ended up helping us to rely on things that are ultimately going to fade away. He knows that ultimately, if we are going to live a life of significance and meaning, we need to center our lives on him. You see, God is continuing to transform his followers, his disciples, into the likeness of their rabbi, and that is Jesus. We are continuing to grow and to learn of what it means to be more like Jesus in our everyday. But that doesn't mean it's easy. And Jesus in Luke 14 says that, you need to weigh up the cost. If you're going to be a disciple of mine, it's going to be hard work. It's going to require sacrifice. But at the end of the day, it's the only thing that is worth anything. If you're going to follow me, don't walk into this thing thinking it's going to be easy. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult because, ultimately we're letting go of the old ways, our old patterns, our old thinking, which is nice and safe and comfortable and easy for us. But when we choose to follow Jesus, when we choose to, as those young men, to leave our boats, to leave our old ways behind and follow him, we'll find something new, and that will be significance, meaning, life, and a purpose. So one of my favourite kind of movies, I like watching military movies, and one of the things that I see in every one of them, pretty much, is that there's this part of the movie where it's based around at a boot camp, where this ragtag group of soldiers or people have been brought together into a unit, and then kind of the sound goes, and then this music kind of comes over the top, and they have these scenes of them crawling through mud or climbing over walls or being woken up early and then taken out to practice marching or running. There's lots of sweat and pain and tears, and maybe even go out to the rifle range and start shooting things, and it kind of finishes off with this graduation scene, and we, over this kind of a couple minutes normally it is, we see the transformation of this group of kind of ragtag guys from different backgrounds who come together, formed as one military unit, and they graduate as this kind of cohesive group of guys or people, and then they throw their hats up in the air and the music kind of climaxes, and you have this amazing sense of possibility and potential. It's always one of those kind of really inspiring parts of the movie, and I think church is kind of like the boot camp. Church is kind of like this place where God has called this group of people from different backgrounds with different stories, for different reasons for being there together for a purpose. And while the church doesn't require us to crawl through mud or climb over fences, although it might, it does require training and hard work. So how is church like a boot camp? Well, I think the first thing that I can kind of see in this picture is that in church we kind of learn and we grow together. It's a communal experience. In the military movies, people aren't trained one-on-one, they're trained as a group of people, because they know that it's not only important that they know how to use their equipment and that they know strategies, but it is important, just as important, if not more important, that they know how to work together as a team. So in church we grow together, we learn together, we encourage each other, we help each other, we push each other over the fences, if you like, and God is not only transforming each of us individually, He's also transforming us as a community of people. The second kind of likeness that I see between a boot camp and a church is that they both require great discipline. In a training camp, if you don't follow discipline, you're going to be kicked out. And in church, if you want to turn your lives around, if you want to transform not only your life, but also the life of the church and the life of the community around you, it's going to require discipline. It's going to require you making hard choices. It will require you making the kind of choices that mean that you turn up and that you dig in, especially when you don't feel like it. It will require you to choose to be loving and to be encouraging and to be supportive of others, even when it's difficult. And it will require you to sometimes take the challenges and the corrections from those around you as well. And the third way I can see church like a training camp or a boot camp is that both of them have a greater purpose. You see, the purpose of a boot camp isn't so that they can run a great boot camp, isn't so that they can say, yeah, we're doing the best training possible. The purpose of the boot camp is to prepare the soldiers for something greater, for something external, for something outside. And the main purpose, I believe, for church isn't so that we can run great services or engage in ministries, although I think that's something that we can do really well. It is for an external purpose. It is to see transformation happen in a community around us. And as we gather together, for this greater purpose, God does something amazing in and through us. He grows us not only closer together, but closer to Himself, closer to His likeness, not only as individuals, but as a community of people. Now, the last thing that Jesus says to His disciples before His physical body ascends into heaven is to go. He says, I want you to go out into all the world and make disciples. And He also says, I want you to baptize them. You see, Jesus wants His disciples to imitate Him now, to start to be a people that go out and make other disciples, that go out and start to preach this same message, that their lives can be turned around, that their lives can be transformed by the love and the mercy and the grace of Himself. And He says, in doing this, you should expect to see baptisms. You should expect to see some people who say, yes, I want to take hold of this for myself. I want to transform my life. I want to see my life turned around by the love of Jesus. You should start to see people kind of going under the water and coming back out into new life. Jesus kind of doesn't kind of leave us any room here to kind of just sit back and watch what He does. He says, I want you to go out and to be my people in this world. As Christians, we are called to go out into the world and make more disciples. See, essentially what Jesus calls us to do is two things. He says, the first thing I want you to do is to come and follow me. Come and learn my ways. Come and learn what it means to be like me. And then I want you to take what you've learned out into the world around you and see other people come to know and understand and experience who I am. Follow and go. It's pretty simple, isn't it? So let's take this call seriously. Let's let go of our old ways and take hold of this new life. Let's challenge and encourage each other on a daily basis. Let's be disciplined about it. And let's be a people that God has called us to be right here, right now.